सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Satasloki, verse 57. यत्किञ्चित् भात्य सत्यं व्यवहृति विषये रौप्यसर्पाम्बुमुख्यं तद्वै सत्याश्रयेणेत्यह अयमिह नियमः सावधीर्लोकसिद्धः। तद्वत् सत्यस्य सत्ये जगदखिलमिदं ब्रह्मणि प्राविरासीत् मिथ्याभूतं प्रतीतं भवति खलु यतस्तच्च सत्यं वदन्ति। This is what forms the heart of Vedanta, the kernel of Vedanta. So it's a little involved, so a little bit of discussion will be warranted before we get into the verse itself and the word by word meaning. In the Chandogya Upanishad, there is a expression, Aitadatmyam idam sarvam. What is this Aitadatmyam? It's a mouthful for sure. So Aitadatmyam is the abstract noun of Etat Atma. Etat means this alone is the Atma. Atma here means I. The word Atma means I. This much we have to see. Atma is always understood in the form of the first person. But here, just like the I is so intimately understood by oneself, because one is the self-conscious, self-evident being. So the I is close to one, nay, it is oneself. And so this I, in the form of consciousness, is the only thing, when you say Atma, that is the one to be understood as I. There is no other Atma that is other than this I. So this is point number 2. Point number 1, Atma means I. This is simple, okay? So wherever you hear the word Atma, it should be I, especially if it's not qualified by something else, and some other word. Sometimes you have the word Atma qualified by another word, So if it is not qualifying another word, Atma means it should be understood as I. Number 1. Number 2, this Atma, which has its reference in the first person, is the only thing that is evident to automatically to oneself. You don't have to work hard to see where is Atma. You don't have to look for it, and it is never hidden from you. Atma is described as alupta drik. Alupta drik is an expression. A seer, drik means seer who doesn't have eyelids, meaning you don't even blink. That is the Atma. Doesn't miss anything. It is ever shining without any kind of a gap. So much for the theory of the self being sparks of consciousness. People keep saying the self is a spark. And then how does one spark communicate to the other spark? If it's a series of sparks, they have no answer. And if I am indeed a series of sparks, then how come I have pratyabhigya? Pratyabhigya means how come I remember what I did when I was 6 years old? Because that, that memory should not be there. A memory of a vacation taken with parents at age 6, a nice memory. How come it is there now? Now it is there. How come? If it is series of sparks. No, we don't, subscribe to that at all. Vedanta means there is that alupta drik, the ever shining consciousness, which is I. Never forget that. Don't look for consciousness, because the looker is consciousness. Yeah, that is what you have to see. That the content of that seer, the content of the seeker is consciousness. So this consciousness, which is I, is never absent. This is point number 2. Point number 1, that awareness is always I, and its name is Atma. How is the word Atma formed? That is also so interesting. Karma phalani atti. Atti means eats. Eats the results of action. You have to eat it. Just like you tell your children, you have to finish what is on the plate. Why, mom? Why, dad? Because I said so. And here, this is what has come on the plate. And the plate has a name, Prarabdha plate, meaning all the things are on this thali which you haven't chosen. See, India has thali culture. Okay, you don't, in America you can say, oh, I'll have the, I'll have the salad dressing, but not the salad. And if they think you are strange, they are trained not to show it, and they'll charge you something. They'll charge you the bottle, the whole salad bottle for 1 ounce of salad and give it to you, salad dressing and give it to you. But in India, that this option is not there. I mean, recently it has come, but when we grew up, it was just not there. That's why it's called a thali culture, meaning everything is on the plate. You go to a place, a restaurant for lunch, and all that is available is lunch. And then what? Then you can't decide, I'll have this of that, and a plate will come with some little katoris, and then everything will be there. This is an upalakshana, a metaphor for being able to greet whatever comes in life. And in those little bowls of various gravies and vegetables and everything, some of them you may love, some of them you may absolutely detest, because there is Karela. Karela means this, bitter gourd. And so you may detest that, but nonetheless it's a whole package deal. It comes, and there is no adjustments possible, because that concept was not known until recently. Nowadays things are changing. We are becoming more like the West. But so this is that plate that comes already with the food arranged, and all you have to do is eat it. And this is what is called Prarabdha, is like that. At birth, along with you comes a plate with many bowls, Sukha in 1, Dukkha in 2 or 3, because that's how it is, okay? And then, and then some aruchi, some tasteless thing in the 4th bowl, and then some carbohydrates to which you are allergic, and some protein which you don't like. All these things come, and you mix it up and eat it. And this is what is called, karma phala, because there is no option. You cannot tell Bhagavan, I'll have more of sukha, keep it coming. And then this dukkha, can I give it to the neighbor, because they are very annoying. This option is not there, to leave it in front of the neighbor's porch. It is not there. And neither can you take the neighbor's sukha away. These days we hear that these Amazon packages are left on the doorstep, and then people come and take it away. And what are they called? They have some name, I've forgotten, they have some kind of a creative name. And then sometimes there is a camera outside and it catches them. And so like this, so then this kind of a option is not there. So the word Atma has 2 meanings. And then the first meaning is ati. Eats the one who is eating the karma phala, who is eating the karma phala without choice and by making a face. You that I am the one, that aham is also here, that ahamness, that I-ness is also coming here. I am the one who has to eat this. So the jiva here is called Atma. And then, if that was the only meaning of Atma, then what is that called? Then it would not be fun at all. If that's the only meaning of Atma, then there is no Mahavakya possible. Mahavakya means a sentence that equates the I to the cause of the universe, Ishwar, Bhagavan, etc. So that equation is not possible. So then one has to just give unto so-called one's fate and say, oh, I have to eat this, I am a karma phala eater. Who are you? Karma phala eater, in other words, bhokta. And so this is not the whole story. This is a point of view. And what is the other meaning? Same, from Atma, derived meaning. The other meaning, very interesting, And adatte. Adatte means gives, provides, nourishes. Atti and adatte. Again, both of them starting with a. So atti, adatte. Adatte means it gives its very being to everything that is in existence, because it is the source of all existence. Now the definition is complete. And then, if this is called Vyutpatti Artha. Vyutpatti means a derived definition. So where did you get this? If you ask me, there is a very ancient dictionary / thesaurus called Nirukta, written by a very erudite sage whose name is Yaska. So Yaska's Nirukta, it is even quoted by the Upanishads. So you can imagine how old it is. Taittiriya Upanishad quotes Niruktam Chandasam Jyotisham iti, like this. Right at the beginning of the first chapter, it says. And so therefore what? So therefore this is a very ancient text. And there, these kinds of definitions, based on how the word sounds and how the words are, picked up and strung together, are given. So atti karma phalani adatte, it gives its being to everything. So both these definitions simultaneously yield the word I. Oh, so I am the eater of the karma phala, this miserable, sad, bad, mad jiva, and always complaining, and always getting together with other jivas to complain some more. That is what is called support group, okay? Yeah. And then sometimes it works, because sometimes you need to vent and there is a safe space. But it can also become addictive, because one identifies as that miserable being. One has to be careful. Support group is for temporary, little temporary time. Cannot be a permanently part of this complaint support groups. Won't work. And so therefore, this jiva who eats the karma phala. So I am, what is the definition of I according to the Shastra? I am the one who eats the karma phala. I am the one who is reaping the fruits of my karma. And here, there is not some kind of I have to put a footnote here. There is not some kind of a fate and free will conflict at all from the Shastra, from the standpoint of the Shastra. Why? Because you cannot be angry with Bhagavan saying, why did you do this to me? Bhagavan will just shrug the shoulders and say, well, it is your own karma that is coming back to you. I just put my finger there and tied the bow so that it will remain nice and tight. That's all. I just gift wrapped it. I didn't give you this, it's your own karma. And my own karma means what? In a previous life, if one has been living the life according to dharma and not hurting people and helping people, this kind of a thing, then good karma is accrued. And that good karma fructifies either in that particular life or janmantare, in another life. Yeah, because we are not in any pressure to fulfill everything in this life. That's why no Hindu makes a bucket list. Should not. Okay? Yeah, bucket list means all the things you want to do before you die. Silly list, because we just say, oh, next life is there, no problem, Bhagavan will give in the next life. We have a relaxed view of life because there is no pressure to accomplish everything in this life. This is neither the first life and nor likely to be the last, unless one takes up Vedanta seriously and unless one resolves this naughty, pun intended, problem of alienation from Bhagavan. So therefore, if one leads a life according to dharma, then one has comfortable situations to be enjoyed in this or other lives. And same is true each time one hurts somebody and one causes pain, causes loss for somebody intentionally. Then there are certain uncomfortable situations, that sickness, disease, and so on, loss in life, etc., that one has to experience. This is what is karma phala. And so the one who is the one who is a bhokta means, experientially speaking, the one who is experiencing this karma phala, eating the karma phala, is I. Because this is experientially true. One day goes very well, next day miserable, third day so, fourth day, why am I alive? This is how the story of the life goes. And so therefore, this is the definition of the I from the standpoint of one's experienced reality, which cannot be negated, because I am experiencing it every day. And neither does Vedanta try to negate it. But then why does the other definition, that which gives its being to the whole universe, that is the definition of Bhagavan, why does that definition lend itself to the I? Because that is the truth. Experience always is not the truth. Feelings are not the truth. What you see or what you objectify need not necessarily be the truth. That's why we say blue sky when there is no such thing as sky, nor is it blue. We say sunrise and sunset when the sun is neither rising nor setting. So what you see and what you experience need not be the truth. It has a certain basis, it has a certain reality, which is what the stuff of verse 57 is made of. But primarily what is there, it is, it is not negated, it is transcended. It is overridden by the reality of this I being that which lends its existence, its sentience, satta and spurti, it lends to everything that has a being. So this Atma is what? Sat. Nothing but that consciousness, because of which everything comes alive. So that's why that Sat here is called Etat. Here means where? Here in this expression from the Chandogya that I quoted. We have come a full circle of all, explaining all the things in between. Aitadatmyam idam sarvam. This is the expression. So, etat sat atma yasya. So, atma here means one's very being. The I of everything is indeed sat. And then you make it into an abstract noun, and that becomes aitadatmyam. Etadatmanah bhavam aitadatmyam. This is how we understand this expression aitadatmyam. Okay, we understand it all right, but what does it really mean? Very, very interesting what it means. Meaning that which has the I in it. Very simple. And what is it that has the I in it? Everything. Because that's why it says aitadatmyam idam sarvam. Idam sarvam means all this. This whole manifest universe is that which has the presence of the I in it. The non-negatable presence. This is number 3 we have to see. Self-revealing presence, and that which doesn't need to be ratified by anything else. That kind of a presence. And a presence that is never absent, number 2. And number 3, a non-negatable presence. Abadhitah Atma. Non-negatable. Are you here? Yes. Are you here? Yes. Do you exist? Yes. You have to keep on saying yes. No, I'm in a rebellious mood. Okay, what do you want to say? No, I'm not here. When you say that, what are you doing? You're advertising your presence even louder than when you accept it. It is a presence. You can never protest. You cannot take out a morcha, meaning a demonstration against the Atma. Sometimes they have a, when the politicians are corrupt, or there's some terrible thing that has happened. The people, protesters, take to the streets, and then they have placards, and then they have Nara. Nara means, chorus, chant, which the other people repeat. So they'll tell the name of this offender. Somebody who's stolen something, or some politician who's caught in a scandal. So they'll say the name, and then after that they'll say hi, hi, means die, die. That's what it means, okay? So you just go away, die. So you cannot take a morcha against the Atma. Atma, hi, hi, please die. You cannot say, because the one, that which can never die is the Atma. That which can never die is the I. Very nice. So this is something, this is why it is non-negatable, and it is here all the time. So how do I know it is here all the time? Well, because I am not, I, from the standpoint of this body, mind, sense complex, is not here all the time to document the presence of Atma through the ages. So how do I know it is here all the time? Just connect with your most dear longing. What is this longing? What do you want? People will say everything from chocolate cake, ice cream, all the way to happiness. What is this happiness? You open the suitcase called happiness, you unpack the contents, and then you'll see that the happiness is not really some kind of a feeling that one is after. Because you ask the person how long you want to be happy. First you ask, what is your definition of happiness? They will say, good house, good spouse, lots to eat, and loving children, nice job, cushy retirement, plus something to spare. All this will be happiness. But then you look at the common denominator, and then you ask them, how long you want this to last? What will they say? For 5 minutes, if I have a nice life, I'm happy. No, I want it to be forever. The longing is to be forever. That is why all the antioxidant berries from the market are very, very hard to get. because one wants to extend the life. All kinds of berries. First it was this blueberry craze, and then that is not so strong. Now there is some Brazilian berry, acai berry, acai berry. I don't know how to pronounce it. And and then you get it all the way from Brazil, and then you make smoothie with it, and in the morning you eat it for breakfast, and in the afternoon you put it for lunch, and keep on eating it. Why do you want this antioxidant? Why? What is wrong with oxidization? No, that means there is cellular death and all these things. This is not what I want. Why you don't want that? I want to be forever. I want to be. That longing itself shows you that is what the Atma is. Otherwise, why would you be longing for it? You can't long for something that isn't there. You can't long for something that you don't know. And similarly, what is that? This Brahmi leaves. It is called Jnanavalli. This Brahmi leaves. And that people eat in bunches. Why? Because the mind apparently gets sharp. At least you may forget your keys, but you'll remember the names of your family members and the pets. Okay, yeah. That is a good thing about eating Brahmi chutney all the time, so that the mind doesn't become chutney. This is what the whole thing is. So why do you do all this? You do all this because you want to be forever. And that desire to be forever makes one not accept one's body, not accept one's mind as it is. Why? Because I want to be forever. And that foreverness is what? Is transferred onto the body, because that is the place where the I obtains. This is the confusion. The I obtains here in the body mind sense complex, all right, but the I is not the body mind sense complex. It transcends it. It is everywhere, it is everything. And how to get from being stuck from the first definition, or in the first definition of Atma, the eater of karma phala, to all the way to reclaiming myself as the cause of the universe. Very important. That is the journey of Vedanta. So Vedanta is a journey from a life that is ho-hum to a life that is so-hum. Okay, yeah, that is what it is. This humdrum ho-hum life to understanding I am that. I am that which I seek. I am that which I have been looking for. I am that which I miss. I am the forever that I long for. This is the journey. And so there is a cognitive graduation from identifying oneself as karta. Oh, I thought you said bhokta. Yes, but before bhokta, karta has to come. Because how will you eat the results of action if you haven't acted? So that means there is a doership. That means one is in love with oneself, seeing oneself as an agent of action. Why? Because the I shines. The I as I know it, this limited definition of this I, from the standpoint of the owner or the indweller of this body-mind-sense complex, identified wrongly and completely with the body-mind sense complex, gets a little kick from this kartritvam. Gets happy. Oh, I did this, me. Why? Because this I that obtains in the body-mind sense complex, the I from the standpoint of the one that is eating the karma phala, that definition is the I that is ajnani, the one who doesn't know the truth of the self as the whole. And so therefore, if one has ajnanam, then the ajnanam is manifest. How? In going after things that make one happy and make one and seeking validation, because there is a great insecurity centered on the self. Wherever the I is located, there is insecurity. Starting with the body. Oh, I don't feel so well. I think I have fever. Maybe it is COVID. But then, no, I don't think so. I have not gone out anywhere. This is insecurity with regard to the body. Insecurity with regard to the mind. Insecurity with regard to the senses. Insecurity with regard to what one possesses. And insecurity with regard to perceived dispossession. This is the sad, mad, bad I that one encounters without Vedanta. Without Vedanta in one's life, this is the I that one has to deal with. And so therefore, this whole gamut of experiences makes one a validation seeking individual. That is why one identifies as a doer. Who did this? I, me. And why do you want to say me, and then pat your chest? Because I'm hoping that you will approve. These are all what are called approval seeking behaviors. Approval seeking behaviors. Did I do a good job? Approval seeking behavior. See, I have done all this. Approval seeking behaviors. These are all approval seeking behaviors. Why? Because there is an innate, some kind of a, inbuilt tendency in a mind that is not enlightened by Vedanta, not lit up by this knowledge. There is a tendency for self-loath, self-criticism, insecurity centered on the self. And so therefore what? One tries to ward off this insecurity by two means. One is by seeking security. Give me this, give me that, approve of me. Tell me I'm wonderful. This is the reason people get married. No other reason. Because there should be somebody in the life who will always approve of you. And so therefore, this is, I have you in my corner, approve of me. So this is one thing. And then this is the first thing is the seeking of approval, because of the latent one keeps very, very, very busy. That's another reason why one becomes a doer. Two reasons. One is to seek approval for the self-loath, for the insecurity, mostly for the insecurity. And the other one is to keep oneself always occupied, doing something or the other. Why? Because if I stop doing and start just being with myself, what happens? All kinds of pains and sorrows come out. One has to deal with that self-critique, self-judgment and self-loath. That's why one keeps oneself busy. And the coronavirus, I call it, the virus of compassion has come to help people deal with this void. That is why. It's the only reason. No other reason. Because you can't travel, you can't go to the movies, and then what? You can't go to the mall most of the time, and maybe 1 week you can go to the mall again. All the restrictions are in place, and then what? Then you can't go to people's houses, you can't go to weddings, you can't go to parties, you can't go to conferences. And then, so therefore, one this virus, which is I feel it is like Kalki Avatara, which is like an avatara of Bhagavan, is helping one to deal with these twofold problems, with which become an impediment to the gain of self-knowledge. What are the two problems? I am an approval seeker, problem number one. Problem number 2, I can't stand myself. And so because of these two problems, one plunges into activity, all kinds of activity, whether it is needed or not. Okay, you have to cook, you have to go shopping, you have to eat, you have to go to work. Okay, all that is, is valid. But then all kinds of things are started, all kinds of things are done because of that inner restlessness, which is the direct consequence of self-hatred, self-loath. And so therefore, one is a karta, one identifies as the doer. And people will say this, I am a doer, very proudly they say, I am not the one to sit quietly, I am a doer. And then that doing is to one's own detriment, because whatever is done, any kind of karma that is unleashed brings with it the result of action. And you don't need to, the law of thermodynamics, every action has a reaction. You don't need to study that. You know this from experience. Without looking at Newton, you know this from experience. That every action brings forth a result. And then that result is again divided into two. What are those results? Those which I like and those which I don't like. And whenever a result is liked, then you repeat the action. We see this in psychological experiments with dogs and cats. They are given one bell and then they are told to ring the bell with the paw. Ting! As soon as they do that, they are given one treat. So then this is karta, ting, and then bhokta. Then they are given a treat, some little biscuit or some kitty treat they are given. And then they know that, okay, so if I do this, I'll get more. And we may say, oh, how funny, how silly they are. They don't even know this much. But then, are we any better? That is my question. So then a result of action which one likes, makes one, encourages one to repeat the action again and again and again, because the hope that they will get the same results. Ting! Where is my food? Well, that is not how life works. Karma phala gahana karmano gatihi. This is a very nice expression in the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says, don't ask me the ways of karma. They are indeed very dense, very mysterious. So unlike this experiment, where the result of action and action are obviously connected, ting, and some food comes. Not so in life. In life, it becomes much more complicated, much more mysterious, and much more interesting. Why? Because you cannot predict that the same action will give the same result. You cannot predict. Starting with one's own childhood, you cannot predict. Oh, if I do this, the parents will approve. Well, maybe they don't approve. And because you've done it for the 20th time. And the poor things, they are also exhausted. Maybe they'll say, okay, cut it out, stop it. And so like this, in life, the same actions do not give the same results. And so then, in the opposite scenario, when I get the result of action that I don't like, then also the person doesn't sit quietly. Then there is an attempt, a frantic attempt to unleash more actions in order to save the situation, in order to try to alter the situation. Oh, this didn't work, let me try that, let me do this. All along, this notion of doership and the notion of being caught in identifying oneself as karma phala bhokta, as the receiver and the experiencer of the results of action. This is what samsara is. Samsara is many things, but here, the primary thing here is identifying oneself as a doer, only as a doer, and as a recipient of the results of action. That is why it is called chakra. Chakra means it is a spiral, a downward spiral into feelings of non-acceptance, depression, etc. And so therefore, the the this bhokta karta is told, you are the whole. You are that which is the Atma. You are the I of everything. Not EYEI, I. The letter, the capital letter I. You are the I in everything. What do you mean you are the I of everything? That is what Aitadatmyam idam sarvam means. So what can you say about this I other than, the specific definitions that obtain from the body mind sense complex? We are not talking of that kind of a definition. I am this much tall, I have so many children, and I am doing this, and this is my occupation. We are not interested in that. That all varies. But what is common across the board when you say I? The only thing that you can say is I exist. And I know I exist. And I know in a way that I am not this body, that I am forever. In other words, this Satchidanandatvam, this Satchidananda is the common denominator that nobody can disagree with. You go to China and ask in the Mandarin language, do you exist? The answer will be yes. First they will ascertain if you're feeling well. This will be because you're asking a silly question like that. And then they will say, yes. You go somewhere else in Europe and then you go ask there. And they will also say yes. You go to Africa, they will say yes. You go to South America, they will say yes. It is universal. This is the universal I, which is experienced immediately. Universal doesn't mean it's somewhere out there. It is experienced. I am existing is a matter of an experience every single minute of every single day. Atma is Anubhuti Swarupa. It is experienced all the time, now. And then what? It is, and it is known. It is an experience that is understood as the experience is unfolding. Unlike dream experience. In the dream experience, what happens? You dream something, and the next day you wake up with a dream journal and you have to write it out and say, what does this mean? What does that mean? Why did they come in my dream? You write it out. So the dream experience and every other experience, like you go and say something to your friend, and the friend looks at you disapprovingly, and then you come back and say, oh, that was a strange experience, wonder why they did that. But this experience doesn't need to be analyzed. It is unfolding in what everybody loves, which is called real time. Real time. That's why all these reality shows on TV people like. Because it's all real time. Here real time means paramarthika. The real time is timeless. That is why it is unfolding in real time. Now are you here? Yes. Now? Yes. And that now is forever. Because the now has no... How do you measure the length of now? You can't. It is forever. And so therefore, this I is understood. Is understood as that which I experience all the time. And that understanding is that sentiency called Chit. I know I am. And then you can say by extension, and what is this I am which you know? What is this I am that I know? I know I am forever. Satchidananda, that which is forever is what is called happiness. That is why it has the name Ananda. A happiness that is unbridled by the difference between the subject and object. This is what is the meaning of Aitadatmyam idam sarvam. The subject-object distinctions are collapsed, are resolved completely. How? Well, by understanding that which I experience is nothing but myself alone. anything that you experience. The object of experience is non-separate from the subject of experience. So the subject-object difference, what is this difference? It cannot be denied, but it is not affirmable either. Why? Because the subject-object difference, very interesting, is based on some, is based on the subject objectifying the object. That is what the difference is based on. I, the subject, I am objectifying this pen, for example. This is an object. And so if I have a longing for this object, then I have to become one with it somehow. Let's say it belongs to somebody else and it is some kind of a limited edition pen, and then I have to have it. So I go and buy it or get it or do something, and then I am one with the object. This is on the level of experience, that this is how one unites with the object. Unites within quote unquote. And this is how there is some ananda that is born from the contact high of the subject-object fusion, if we can use the word. Whether that object is a person, a thing, an event, a state of mind, doesn't matter. It's that subject-object fusion that one is always longing for. So this is the everyday manifestation or the manufacturing of what is called Ananda. It is not away from Swarupananda. It is never away. The Ananda that you experience in the everyday is not and cannot be away from the Ananda of your own nature. The only difference is that the Ananda that you experience by grabbing hold or gaining hold of an object is finite. That's the only difference. And that, and then that longing, that subject-object difference causes that longing to surface, to keep on resurfacing. So then what? So therefore, a revolution, a cognitive revolution in one's vision is needed to see this differently. So what I call object, I am the one lending my existence to it so that it shines. This is where the Shastra in the Chandogya Upanishad and verse number 57 in the Satasloki wants to take us. Oh, but that is so far-fetched. It is not far-fetched. If I say cup, yeah, remember, if I hold it like this, it's a cup. If I hold it like this, it's a pot. Okay, yeah. So if I say cup, cup means what? This is cup. If I say this is cup, that means many things. First thing it means is that the cup is unable to declare its existence. The cup is number one. Number two, the cup depends on me in order to exist. And this takes us very, very close to our Buddhist philosophers. And that wonderful sentence, if there is a tree that falls in the forest, does it make a sound? Let us think about that. You can say yes. Of course it makes a sound. Why? Because there are laws of physics. The velocity of with which the tree is falling, and then the speed at which it hits the ground, all these things, and the size of the tree, and how far it has to fall, all these things, are responsible for the kind of sound and the number of decibels, etc., that the tree will make. So obviously this is a law. This is a law that whatever falls will make a sound. But then in Vedanta we can go a little further. Is a sound without, let's put it a little more playfully, Is it sound to say that a sound is a sound if there are no pair of ears to call it a sound? Is an unheard sound a sound? You can all sound off on that later. But then, is an unheard sound a sound? Can you call an unheard sound a sound? Because what is the definition of sound? That which is heard is sound. Now, this is a sound argument, isn't it? So, that which is heard is a sound, and if it is not heard, how can you call it a sound? And so, what happened to the poor tree falling in the forest? Unsung, unloved, unheard. This is Vedanta, the centrality of this I, where I am the one that is lending my existence, because there is only one existence. So there is no difference between myself and this pot. This pot, okay, yeah, this is pot. So there is no difference between myself and this pot, and myself and this cup, however you want to look at it. And the only difference, because I exist, cup exists. I come to light, cup also comes to light. And the cup is never destroyed. Why? Because it is clay. Clay is there all the time. Cup is non-separate from its cause. I am also non-separate from my cause. But there is a vital difference between myself and the clay cup. What is the difference? I am able to say I exist without anybody else needing to ratify my existence. The poor cup is dependent on me in order to exist. It has a dependent existence. And same thing with my body. My body has a dependent existence on this I. My mind is dependent on this I. My senses are dependent on this I. Because I am the one who is lending the existence to this body, mind, sense complex and the sentience, and I am the one that is there. There is only one I. That is what it means. Aitadatmyam idam sarvam. The Atma of I, the I which is the indweller of this body, mind, sense complex, the source of this consciousness, is the Atma of everything, is the existence of everything. The Atma of this body is the Atma of this cup, or is the Atma of the pen, is the Atma of this whole universe full of sentient and insentient things. So the I of the cup. What do you mean the I of the cup? The essence of this cup, which is its existence, is non-separate from this I. And when you understand this, when you assimilate this knowledge, what happens? That subject-object difference, the sorrow caused by the subject-object difference is not experienced at all, is not understood, because everything is I. Everywhere you go is I. Whatever you want is I. Whatever you don't want also is I. And so this I is everything. So the eye of the cup, the eye of the galaxy, Milky Way, the eye of the solar system, the eye of all the exoplanets which can hold life. And the scientists are very interested in all these Goldilocks planets, neither too hot nor too cold. Why? Because we are messing this planet up at such a fast rate. We want to look for other planets so that we can go. Already space tourism is becoming a reality. And so this is what is the heart of Vedanta. The heart of Vedanta finds the I in everything, and that I is you. And that I is not the you that complains, not the you that is crying at the drop of a hat, not the you that is querulent and all the time unsatisfied and discontented, but the you that you want to be. Free, all-pervasive, whole, whose nature is everything, whose nature is forever, whose nature is all sentience, all knowledge. without a hint of ignorance, and whose nature is that of one's own existence. That is one's nature. And this is what is aitadatmyam sarvam. So if you look for the I, if you look for yourself, you find it in everything that you can objectify, in whatever you are looking at. The looker, the content, the truth of the looker is there in all objects. And that subject, all the objects resolve into, depend upon, and are sustained by the subject. The subject cannot resolve into anything. What does this mean? This has got a very huge, this got a very big implication. What does this mean? The objects resolve into the I, but I am irresolute. Means what? There are no such thing as objects. What object? Where? Oh no, my favorite cup. What happened to this? My cup. Your cup is there. It is as though there. Your cup is there because you are there. You are lending your presence to this cup. So everything, starting with your own body, mind, sense complex, everything is in the universe is an as though superimposition on that which is free of any superimpositions. On that aham, on that sat, which is free of the body, that body is as though superimposed. On that sat, which is free of the mind as though is superimposed. Like even a colored cloth behind a quartz crystal. You have a quartz crystal, and then behind that you put green colored cloth, and then you say, oh, this is green. You put a red colored cloth and the crystal shines, and you say, oh, this is a ruby. This is what is the appearance. The appearance is that the I, since essentially it is formless and nameless and shapeless, then what does it do? It has the ability to take on the shape, the size, the form, the color of everything that it is as though associated with. So the same I digs as an earthworm. In the earthworm body, the I is very busy digging, and the I in the ant body is busy looking for things to bring home. The I in the squirrel's body is collecting nuts for the rainy day. The I in the leaf, in the branches, in the trees is swaying and enjoying the wind. The I in the lions and the tigers are roaring their glory, which is the glory of Bhagavan. The I in the crocodile is patiently awaiting the prey. And finally, the I in the human beings is what? Is complaining all the time. Same I. Same I. And when you know this, then then the whole world, the whole Jagat becomes a fun place. As though eating, as though drinking, as though complaining, as though walking, as though talking, but resting in my own glory. The kartritvam, the doership, is as though imposition. The experiencership, bhoktritvam, is also an imposition. A superimposition on that I, which is free of everything, like a movie being telecast on a screen. In a Bollywood movie, the villain snatches the purse of the heroine and the hero runs after. Actually, there is no villain. He is the hero's friend who's been set up for this so that he can impress the heroine. Okay, yeah. That we know. The poor heroine doesn't know this. And so he snatches the purse and makes off with it. And the hero in great pursuit, and the heroine also running behind. And the screen is in place. That screen is you. That projection is the screen is blank. The projection is colorful, scary, exciting, adventurous, sorrowful, happy, various things at various times. And then the emotions that are projected on the screen do not affect the screen. The colors projected on the screen do not affect the screen. So if you stay in the movie for a long time until everything, all the credits, everything, what do you see? Blank screen. That is what it is. That Atma is the nameless, formless Sat on which everything is as though projected. And if you know this, Satyam Asti, the life is meaningful. If you don't know this, that you are just as it were a screen, you scream, that's all. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya. Nice to see you, Rashmi.